What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Gunfish TV. Out here by the boat today, and we're going to do a little bit of talking about a lure that I think is very, very underutilized when it comes to catching post-spawn and fry guarding bass. Now, everybody knows, glide baits, flukes, top waters, stick baits, trick worms. There's a lot of different baits that people utilize for these post-spawn fry guarders. But there's one bait that I do not hear a lot of people talk about, and it's a bait that I have a lot of success on. I've caught a lot of big fry guarding bass on it, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna jump into it and talk about it. We're gonna talk about why I think it's so good, what this lure has that probably triggers some of these fish to bite, and hopefully you can utilize this lure in your upcoming trips to catch some giants as well. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. And I'm gonna show y'all this lure that I think is one of the best fry guarding lures out there to throw. And that is the spinnerbait. The spinnerbait right there. A lot of people do not throw spinnerbaits for these fry guarding bass. And I don't really know why that is, but I will tell you that I figured this out pretty much by accident one day. I was finding a bunch of big fish, kind of suspended underneath fry, and fry were jumping everywhere. So I was throwing top waters, I was throwing Senkos, I was throwing trick worms, I was throwing, bigger baits, just trying to get these fish to trigger, and I could not get them to bite. So for some reason, I picked up the spinnerbait, and on my second cast, I caught a spawned out 7.5 pounder. On the spinnerbait. Literally saw it come up right under the fry and ate it. That was several years ago. Now I've caught hundreds and hundreds of big fish on the spinnerbait since then, using this technique when I find fry, in the back of pockets, in the back of coves, and I know that there are some big fish there around them. And I'll pick up that spinnerbait and throw it through that fry, get that fry really riled up, jumping out of the water, and those big fish will come up and smash it. So, this lure has a lot of things that I believe trigger these big fish to bite. Obviously they're there, they're guarding fry, that's their job, right? They just spawned, they have their little babies, they're there to protect them. Now, every once in a while, these big fish will run through that ball of fry and eat them up. But for the most part, they're there to guard these little baby bass that they want to thrive and get big and, and grow up. But the spinnerbait has a lot of features that I believe make these bass trigger to bite. So obviously with the spinnerbait, this is a wire style bait. Most of y'all are probably familiar with a spinnerbait. But if you're not, it's a wire style bait. Comes in a lot of different sizes, tons of different colors, and just a wide range of availability when it comes to blade variations, body styles, all that. But I'm not going to really get deep into, colors and all that stuff. We're just going to talk about what I feel triggers bass to bite when this spinnerbait is coming through. So a spinnerbait naturally puts off a lot of vibration. So as this is coming through the water, your blade is spinning, it's flashing, it's putting off a ton of vibration. So these fish that are guarding fry can feel it as it's coming through the water, as it's basically approaching the ball of fry. So the bass is aware that something is coming, and something is coming right through that fry. So it immediately is kind of getting defensive at that moment. So you have your spinnerbait coming through, you have your blades flashing. Now, everybody knows the primary, predator when it comes to fry is you have brim and you have other fish, other predatory fish that come through and eat fry. But brim, shad, different small bait fish, different perch, they come through and they eat those fry. So a bass is very defensive, so he's keyed in on bait fish profiles as far as, guarding that fry. So you have this coming through, it comes through, it's flashing. Naturally, bait fish and perch and brim, bluegill, all that, they have a flash to them just naturally. So the blade's coming through, not only is it vibrating, it's also flashing. So the bass can see this coming, it's in a defensive mode. Then you have your body here. So you have your body, you have your skirt, your head right here, obviously your hook, and then a paddle tail trailer. To me, a paddle tail trailer this time of year for these post-spawn fish is very important because it really completes the package when you're talking about a bait fish profile. You know, you have that paddle tail on there, it's coming through, it's kicking, and it gives that real image of a bait fish coming through that ball of fry, and that bass thinks that this is coming through the fry, it's attacking the fry to eat it. But in reality, it's just a good old spinnerbait coming through, and this big girl is about to attack it. So you have the flash, you have the vibration, you have the profile of a bait fish, and basically the bass just thinks a fish is coming through there to eat the fry, and it attacks it. You know, like I said, I feel like the bait fish style trailer is very important when it comes to completing this package of a spinnerbait, because it really gives the fish that image of another smaller fish coming through. And I think that's one reason that it attacks it as well. But I think it's just a combination of the flash, the vibration, the bait fish profile coming through, and that's what really gets the fish to bite it. And like I said, I've caught a lot of big fish doing this. You know, that particular day when I figured out this bite, basically I was on the river. It was super tough. I was throwing the frog that day, throwing top water, and I was seeing fry everywhere, and I just could not get them to bite. I don't really know what made me pick up the spinnerbait, but I did, and I ended up catching a giant fish. And then for the rest of the day after that, I was catching 4 and 5 pounders that were on fry like crazy. And that was many years ago, and I've been utilizing this with a lot of success. I actually went out last week, hung into unfortunately it came off, but hung into an absolute giant fish that came off, but caught a ton of fry guarding bass with the spinnerbait. So I'm telling you, if you do not use this lure for post-spawn fry guarding fish, make sure you give it a try. If you see fry, you know, in the backs of pockets, in the backs of coves, or anywhere, if you see fry, pick up that spinnerbait, cast right beyond the fry, bring it through, and you're probably, most likely, going to catch some big fish doing it. And I'm telling you, it is an awesome technique for fry guarding fish. Be sure you try it. Tie on a spinnerbait. A lot of times it gets forgotten after the early spring, you know, and then everybody picks it back up in the fall. But I'm telling you, it'll catch them. So be sure you tie on a spinnerbait right now, throw it around that fry. You're going to catch some big ones. So use that tip to catch some more fish. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you next time on Gunfish TV.